is not incredible. You could write this with PHP and slap it together in an afternoon based on what you're seeing on the screen. What is cool here is what's going on behind the scenes, so I'm going to explain some of that as we walk through this demo to explain what's really happening. At the center of all this experience is something called a personal data store. And this is an inverse of today's world where all of your information is stored in other people's websites. So Facebook owns your Facebook data, and Google's got your calendar data, and sometimes they share them and sometimes they don't. We're just kind of subject to that, and that's the only thing that we can really do. So the idea behind a personal data store is that my data that I create and that I interact with on sites is in some place that I control. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I actually keep the bits, but it means that I have control over who has access to it and how that actually works. So what we're demonstrating today is Kynetx technology that works with a personal data store in order to enable experiences in some pretty important ways. And so we have a scenario that we're going to walk through with our most excellent Scott Phillips here that sort of demonstrates some of the things that we anticipate happening and that we envision happening, and that we can power through Kynetx and interconnecting to a personal data store. So what you're seeing here is meetup.kynetx.com. We created this for the demo as a blank slate. We could have as well. We could have done this in Facebook or on Google as well. We chose meetup.kynetx.com because that way no one got hung up with the fact that they hated Facebook and the demo was on Facebook.com, or they hated Google and it was on Google. And so this is basically a blank slate. All of these things here are actually Kynetx applications that are painted onto the screen. So they're not being served up from the same web server that basically the blank page is. So everything's painted on there. And then these applications each do different things, right? So I've got a simple application here which tells me the current date. This is pulling our current weather conditions. And then here's an app that pulls recent photos from a Flickr stream, right? Just different slideshow of recent pictures there as well. So here's an agenda, and you're going to watch the to-do list a lot. There's this will change as the to-do list is actually read out of the personal data store in this case, and has some cool things for interaction. So as the story goes, Scott Phillips has had some neck pain recently. He went in and got an MRI, and that's where our demo starts. So he's back from the MRI, and what he does is he gets an email. Now, we were unable to swindle any doctors into do this, and so I'm going to send an email as if I was Scott Phillips' doctor.
Ooh, Dr. Curran.
Dr. Curran is going to send one here, so I'm going to let me edit this as new here so I can send it along. So here's a note from Dr. Curran here to Scott Phillips, basically indicating that the MRI results are now in his personal data store, and there's some next steps that Scott needs to take in this process of getting his neck pain fixed. And so I'm going to send this email off, and then Scott has previously set up these applications that enable him to sort of manage his healthcare experiences.